Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. The conversation about the space of the church in this election seems is going to be defined before we head to August 9th general election. The debate has been centered on why, for the first time, the church leaders have taken a position. And I don't want to generalize. A section of church leaders decided to take a position to support Deputy President William Samoei Ruto. I think the links with the men of the pulpit was so strong to an extent that even during, for the 4 years that the Deputy President had been campaigning in different parts of the country, he was even donating stipends, giving stipends to church leaders so that they would campaign for him. So if you remember during, I think it was Sagana 3 that President Uhuru held with the Kikuyu Nation in February, he took a direct swipe at the church. For them, they were, and according to the president, they were being used as a tool to, according to him, to hoodwink the Central Kenya voters. And let me just tell you, I was talking to a friend of mine who is a subscriber in this channel, and he was telling me that one day he went to his church leader in Karatina and apparently wakiwa kwa nyumba picha za Ruto zilikuwa all over there. Then they just made a joke and just asking, Bishop, inaweza kuwa this is what is going on? And you know, the pastor was telling him that, no, don't worry, we get used of this. So ladies and gentlemen, the conversation about the church is one that has emerged. And for many people, I think they underestimated the influence of President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. But his latest move, I think, is one that now is going to change the whole narrative. I want to play for you some 3 clips. One is during, I think it was on 5th May last year. And on that 5th May, the Deputy President held a prayer breakfast with a section of the clergy in Karen. And during that prayer breakfast, he signed what was termed as an MOU. The members of that team, majority of them were coming from Nyeri. And that delegation was organized and mobilized to Karen by one Rigathi Gachagua. So they signed some pact there in terms of what they will do. And one of the clauses was including a special kitty for the church within Ruto's government, and also allowing the members of parliament to be in a position at their willingness to take some of the CDF funds to support construction of churches, just like schools, because churches are strong fabric in the community. Personally, I don't think I have a problem with that. But then, immediately after that meeting, the Federation of Evangelical Churches of Kenya came out to publicly endorse Deputy President.
We are asking our people to elect a president and leaders who are known to be part of us, the leaders who are part of the church, and leaders who fear God, and the leaders who respect our faith. And this time round, we are clear about the choice of our presidential candidate for the 2022 general election. And we shall go to our churches and persuade our people to elect His Excellency William Samoei Ruto as the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya.
This conversation about the church has been so broad because even Ida Odinga, at one point when she was attending an event, I think somewhere in Kisumu, she alluded to a fact-telling, saying that it was time to regulate the churches because there were so many. And of course, she mentioned something about policy on churches. But this also brought in a bit of a jittery, and it was already creating some rebellion, rather acrimony, between the government and the church. But the boiling point was during COVID. where it was perceived that in terms of the COVID containment measures, at one point the bars and hotels were given go ahead to conduct their activities, but the activities of the church were still stifled, and they really came out against the president, or rather against the government of the day. Now, Rigathi Gachagua has been commodifying the conversation around church, the position of the church in the next government, and has really created a line running with a narrative against Raila Odinga. And I just want you to listen to this, because from Rigathi Gachagua's statement, we are going to pick up the other part of this analysis.
Na ndio uliona yule bibi ya kitendawili juzi alisema bwana yake akichukua urais atafunga makanisa ili anasema ni dogo dogo. Jana ameenda Meru, Wakristo ya Catholic wamesema hutaongea hapa, wewe ulisema utafunga kanisa mkiwa na bwana yako. Kwa hivyo uwezi tisha sisi utafunga makanisa alafu uongea wapi? Kwa hivyo Wakristo mjue, uchaguzi huu, the Church of Christ for once has a candidate ambaye ni mcha Mungu, ambaye anaheshimu kanisa. Na mjue vile moja umesema tuombee kanisa, wale wengine wanatisha kanisa, wanasema ni makosa kutoa matoleo kanisani. Alilete msaada kupitia mtu yake anaitwa John Badi kwa bunge, ati harambe ya kanisa ipigwe marufuku, tukakataa. Mjue kanisa ya Kristo itakuwa kwa hatari. Huyo mtu kwa bahati mbaya akibenyea pahali yoyote aingi, kwa sababu ukisikia bibi ya mtu akisema kitu, si wameongea na bwana yake.
So ladies and gentlemen, the issue about the church has been turned to be a political tool. So when, and I wonder, because I have just come to realize that one of the problems that was affecting churches was registration of churches was suspended in 2014, because initially it was being done under the office of the Attorney General and under Muigai. Remember, not Kehara, the person who took over Muigai. I think I just remember the first name, the second name. So it was closed and was suspended in 2014. Now, for the last 8 years, they had not allowed registration of churches. Deputy President William Ruto has been spending quality time with the church leaders. I want to understand that they had already informed him, even during this government, they had informed him about what was happening. But on the flip side, Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta decided then to reach up to a deal. So when Raila met church leaders in Kirinyaga some time back, they met the church leaders. Then after that, somewhere in March, there was a meeting in State House that was attended by the church elders from Mount Kenya, the rest of the country, and President Uhuru Kenyatta. So from there, they started conversations and negotiations on solving the problem of the church. And one of those problems was registration of churches. Now, on 13th June, there was a circular that was sent to the Ministry of Interior under CS Matiang'i, that President Uhuru Kenyatta ordered the Interior Ministry to open registration of churches. So on 13th January, they were given that go-ahead. Now, that was a landmark deal, because one of the problems has been registration of churches. And someone might ask, when do you think the registration needed to be done? I think the churches are institutions on their own. For example, Full Gospel Churches of Kenya used to run a project known as CHE, Community Health Evangelism. And they really had a very good interventions at the height of the COVID-19 breakout. And so the issue of the churches is some churches receive funding from donors and friends abroad. But for you to even have that, you must run a church as an institution. And this was there because remember the conversation about taxation and all that got its way in the public. So ladies and gentlemen, kindly, I want to humbly request you to subscribe to my channel, and kindly please click the notification bell. When we publish these videos, you will always be notified. So I remember sometime I analyzed here of the Limuru pastor who was preaching and making some, some prophecies that deputy president was going to be the president of the country and all that hula baloo. If you look at it critically, William Samoei Ruto's entry in Mount Kenya was through the men of the pulpit. This is after launch of the government projects that, according to some quarters within government, they were not really funded. Someone might ask how. I was talking to someone from government who was telling me he's a driver to one of the CSs and is my relative. And just telling me that some of these things to be done, they just need a phone call. Just make a call. President just make a call, says this needs to be fixed. And this is done. So why do you think that this issue about the church is going to be a blow to deputy president? Because that is what I want us to look at critically. When he got in his foot in Mount Kenya, first it was all about conducting donations and giving money and all that. But as I mentioned, that is not sustainable. So of course it reverted then to they turned it to negotiations and town hall meetings and all that, and power breakfast meetings. And through that, William Ruto happened to know their problem. However, I want to explain something. Unlike Raila Odinga, who used a diplomatic approach to solve the problem, Deputy President William Ruto knew the big problem that was affecting these church leaders, but he did not solve it. And he did not solve it because he wanted to use it as an election commodity, or rather a campaign narrative against Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta. So this was not solved intentionally, and it exposes something. I remember in between 2013 and 2017, when Raila was playing opposition politics, whenever he wanted something to be done, you would see the zeal and passion for him pushing to an extent of going to court, challenge, using the party funds to go to challenge some of the policies that government has tabled, to complain. And even this one about the church at one point was taken to court. So if someone was in government honestly and they wanted to solve this problem, this would have been solved. Because President Uhuru Kenyatta did not fall out with Ruto the other day. Between 2014 all the way to 2017, this would have been formed. But by that time, the closeness was still there because they were still fresh in the office. Now, this is a sign of Raila's proximity to power. And this proximity to power is what is needed now. Even to church leaders, when they go back and they explain that, of course, that has been opened, the church registration has been opened, then you ask how, you see the image of Raila in the picture. That maybe Raila had a conversation with Uhuru Kenyatta and these church leaders, and just from one or two meetings, the problem was solved. The proximity to power is one that is seen. That even, I think, during this state visit by the visiting Zambian president, Raila was in State House. That is something that will already create the perception, the positive perception around Raila Odinga that is likely going to inherit President Uhuru Kenyatta's tenure. That is something that can be seen in this. But Uhuru was having an issue with the church. And even though he complained about it, but he complained about Mount Kenya. However, this issue about then allowing registration of churches indicates or shows a reconciliation between President Uhuru Kenyatta and the church. That reconciliation is needed for one reason. You might ask, is it important? It's needed because the church does not just play a role in this election. Immediately, maybe results are announced, perhaps maybe William Ruto wins or Raila Odinga wins, you will see these organizations coming. We congratulate. I think it was free and fair. You will see them taking different positions. Now, you need to have such institutions so that in any case, maybe your candidate wins or you win, they will always come out then to support. And their role goes beyond. You remember even during 2007 skirmishes, they really tried to play a role, even though we had to import negotiators from out. How about if the church is divided? Because with politics, there is a conversation of why now. We would have done it some time back. It is done for politics. However, that narrative will not sell to all. The people that will understand that Raila Odinga is now giving us a solution, even though it can still be understood in the political realm that it is for the sake of getting the vote. And even if so, the problem is solved. So I'm waiting for how Rigathi Gachagua is going to handle it. And if you've keen, the sending was done on 13th. The circular was sent on 13th June. They have been in campaign trail and they are not talking about it. No one is talking about it. I think it's time for the church then to come out and tell Kenyans that, look here, this was our challenge and it has been held. But the politicians, on the other side, they cannot take this because this has been their long-term political tool against Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my bold analysis.